This is Christoph Yalik.
This is Just Janet.
And this is K. Colley.
And this is
the Just Nuggets Podcast.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Just Nuggets Podcast. We made it through round one,
We made it. Yay, go Nuggets.
There's a lot of that didn't believe, but we believed on this
We
podcast.
believed.
Just Janet, how you doing today?
I'm great. I had Nuggets in 6, but I surely would take Nuggets in 7.
Gladly take the 7. Christoph, how you doing today?
I had Nuggets in 7, so I'm feeling pretty good. And go Nuggets. I mean, what else is there to say? Like, if you're a true Nuggets fan, like, you got to be feeling pretty happy, confident, a little scared, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, but you know the interesting thing was they showed up and showed out in Game 7.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they beat them down, really.
The Nuggets won 120-101. That was on Saturday, May 3rd. Today is Monday, May 5th.
Against the LA Clippers.
We're preparing to play the Thunder. However, let's get into a little bit of Game 7.
Yeah.
What were your takeaways? Did you have anything you were excited to see? Anything that from that series or anything in that Game 7 that you're hoping they bring into the game tonight?
I'll go first. I thought that they finally, it was when Murray, a couple games ago when Murray came to play, and we said, okay, Murray, remembered he was in the playoffs. I think the Nuggets decided that they remembered how to play defense in the playoffs, and they elevated. They had another level. We always wonder if they have another level. We saw it. We saw them play great defense. They were still in the ball. They were flying around. They were running and gunning, and even at the end when they put the squad in, the bench players that only would get a chance to play in the playoffs, like this kind of moment when you're up that big. I think at one point we were up 35 on the Clippers, but they put the bench in and started coming back down to, we got down, I don't know, in the teens, okay, and I was like, oh, here we go, we can't do this. And then they put Joker and Murray and AG and the starters back in, and they ran it right back up quickly to over 20. So they just were locked in, and you could look at their faces and tell. I don't know if it was last year when they couldn't get it done against Minnesota in the 7th game or what, or they realized, like I said, that they were now in the playoffs and they have to elevate their game and do defense. Whatever it was, I loved it.
And that third quarter, when they came out 15-0 run, that was one of the most fun moments of basketball I've seen in a while. That was when you saw, and the thing that I loved about Game 7 was it was a team win.
It was.
It wasn't as if we got carried by Jamal or carried by Jokic. It was like, to be honest, the highest person was scoring was AG, and I think he had 22 points.
That's something like that.
Everybody else scored above 15 points. Actually, to put it in perspective, they said that was the first time that 6 players or more had 15 points in a game. That's how spread out the game.
In a playoff game.
And I think that when we win these games, that's what some of these are going to have to look like, where you have players stepping up. Yeah. I just think at this point, we know our roles enough. We need Christian Brown to have good games.
Yes.
We need Michael Porter to have good games. AG has got to show he's our most physical player outside of Jokic, and at times even more physical than Jokic. We need him to show up.
Yep.
So those are like mandatory pull-ups besides Jamal and Jokic doing what they always do. Right. And I already said Russ got to play great as well.
Oh, yeah.
When you saw Russ play for that series and crushed it, it was just exceptional.
Energizer bunny he is.
Yep.
I mean, I think it was Game 7. The first time it happened in Game 7, not a playoff game, just to make that quick correction.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
And Russ, if Russ continues to play like this, I have good hopes about the Nuggets. I've been up and down all season about this team, but one thing I have been pretty consistent about this team is, like, this team probably has. I saw it in December. Like, this team probably has the most heart from a Nuggets team I've ever watched. Like, and it goes back to, like, I remember, like, early December, them being in games, they're down by like 10 and they come back. They walk you back down. Game 1 in this last series, I believe they were down and they came back. So they just kind of have that element to them. They're very veteran led. Obviously, like, think about it. Coach Malone was fired 2 weeks ago,
couple weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks.
And like, when you don't have strong leadership from a player standpoint, things frizzle.
Yeah.
Think about not to make it not Nuggets. Think about if that happened to Houston, or a young team like Detroit. Like that could have just like broke them.
Yeah. Could have.
And when they have no sense of direction anymore. But like you have the best player on the planet, you have nothing but like serious vets, and they
Yeah.
all want to win, and they all have a killer instinct. They have a championship
And championship,
pedigree,
I would say championship DNA. That's the
Yeah.
and
other
they
part.
and they play for one another. And I don't think that can be understated.
No.
And I've listened to a few things today about the X's and O's, and the screens and efficiency ratings, and shooting percentages, and the defensive splits, and the box plus minuses, and that's why OKC is going to do this and why Denver can't do this. But sometimes I think we underestimate, when we get too analytical, we underestimate heart, and we underestimate chemistry, and we underestimate. I know,
Dog clutch.
no, what I
All
was
of the
gonna
stuff
say,
that closing out games. Yeah.
I was gonna say fate,
Yeah.
fate, and the basketball gods,
Yeah.
and just the intangible. We always want to make things so black and white. Sometimes the gray area is, and if you're noticing that, that's the fun part about basketball. Like
Yeah.
how Game 5 ended, how just this team feels, like how this season has moved and evolved, but yet they've gotten to the point they need to be at, the point they've got to go against the team that everyone has winning the championship.
Yeah.
And guess what? They very well could.
Well, I think they shut up. I think
This
they
last
shut up
point.
talking about the coach now, because Adelman now has won a series. And so we can stop talking about our lack of having any consistency from last year to this year, or from 4 weeks ago when Malone was there and now, because like Joker explained, Adelman's been there. He's been in their ear for a long time,
And
maybe in a
he's
different
and he made
position.
a great defensive adjustment throughout that series. Going with the show screens, and how they send the defender on the closeouts. So like when there's someone in the corner, they'll show, and then since normally it's a blow pass on Jokic, they'll have either Christian Brown or AG or Russ come down for the trap, so that makes the ball have to swing again, so they don't get that open, one-on-one against, with Jokic flat-footed as he's coming out at them. But the last thing I was gonna say about it is just like, you can't underestimate that, and I think they're in a good spot, and a lot of people, like I said, the Thunder very well could win the championship. They're a great team. They're historically great, you know what I mean? And if it's in their cards for them to win, so be it. However, I'm riding with my dogs. And like Jokic said, the biggest dog said, y'all woke up a sleeping giant.
Sure did.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, speaking of Jokic, he was the first person in NBA history to average a triple double for 7 game series, like all the way through. So when we talk about him being a dog, and I know this podcast kind of doubted it a little bit, because again, I just haven't seen anybody that really has hold their weight against Jokic. But I will say that I think Jokic is gonna have a much better series in the next series, because I don't think he's gonna have to deal with somebody like Zubac that's as physical as him. I think
and thick and big.
I think there's like, you can't really stop Jokic, because obviously what I just said,
Right.
his triple double prowess. But there are two maybe things that can like make things difficult on Jokic. And one you see is like someone like, I guess, a Zubac, who's just like just as physical for him, just moves just as much as him, makes shots really hard for him to get to his spots
Right.
on the court. And the other one you saw and this was in the bubble, so it was so long ago, but you sent height at Jokic, where you just sent platoon after platoon of height, where you had Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee,
Right.
Anthony Davis, and if Jokic is moving around, they send the double. I think what Jokic is going to learn from that, and what we should learn, because the Thunder are going to feel like they can do that same thing with Chet and Harkenstein.
Yeah.
I think what we got to remember is that AG has to be willing to get behind that, because if they're crashing on him, Jokic just has to throw that alley-oop higher. AG's got to wait a second longer to catch the alley-oop.
Right.
But I think if they're crashing on Jokic, we got to send cutters, and AG's got to be really, really disciplined in that dunker spot for those moments.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be there. Jokic just got to throw them higher than normal, but he's going to be able to get those. And I think those are the small details I think that are going to matter in this series because I just think that with the Thunder, what they have that the Clippers don't is that we're gonna figure out a way to shorten the Thunder's bench. Because right now the Thunder can throw 10 people almost at you.
Yeah.
If we
I
can
agree.
if we can start making it seem like, okay, this guy's unplayable for us. Like if we can make Joe unplayable,
Playable.
we gotta start making dudes that like clearly are gonna come into the rock. Like basically what we did with the Clippers.
Yeah.
They were playing Ben Simmons. By
Yeah.
game 3, they were not playing
And,
Ben. Them four, they were,
and done.
and Dunn got moved around.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
or
And then Batum had to get upgraded, and he hasn't been in that role for all. Like we have to do that to their coaching staff that really makes them adjust and say, hey, you can't play all these guys against us.
You know what the Nuggets have to do in no team, because obviously they only lost 14 times this season, is make them unsure, like make them question themselves.
Yep.
Make them kind of unravel and like start pointing fingers at one another. And once I see that, that's when I'll know for certain the Nuggets are going to win this series.
So do you think our experience will get that out of it?
I think we're able to frustrate them. I think our size, I think our physicality, and I think our resolve. And I think one thing that you always have to be wary of when a championship team that wins so much during the regular season gets to the playoffs, one thing you have to like we discredit it, but only the teams that have won a championship before have really gone through this. I'll probably think of someone else, but like it's their resolve.
Yeah.
It is their resolve, because when you only lose 14 games, and they had the most double-digit wins in the history of the NBA. Once more, if they win a championship, they would have beat the Nuggets, who had championship DNA. They would probably beat either the Golden State Warriors, championship DNA, or a team just like them that's up and coming in Minnesota. Then they would have beat someone from the East, who's probably gonna be Boston. You know, sorry to spill on everybody else's dreams, but it's probably gonna be Boston.
Don't quit on the Knicks right now. They're down. No, they're tied 31-31.
Yeah.
But okay, probably gonna be Boston. So like they would have summited the NBA mountain and beat the best to be the best. But here's the thing: is once they get punched in the mouth, how will they respond to that? Like if someone has an off series, they can't really shoot. Like I don't want to speak this, but like because neither can the Nuggets like that. You know, I'm trying to balance that one out.
Okay.
But like Joe, it can shoot. Joe can shoot, and obviously, you know, the merchant, the foul merchant, the free throw merchant himself, he can shoot.
That's Jalen Brunson.
No. It's MVP. It's MVP. SGA.
He's the ultimate foul merchant.
The MVP himself, Mr. Shea Gilgeous.
Honestly, then.
Yeah, but Caruso, Dort, I'm letting these dudes shoot. Like until they prove like what they did to like the Clippers just did to the Nuggets last series. They're like, Mr. Westbrook, shoot, kill us. And it hurt them. Then they said, Mr. Christian Brown, shoot, hurt us. And it did. So this very well could very well come back.
I would say Dort and Caruso actually can shoot to an extent. They're not like great shooters.
They shoot, if you look at
I'm
the
not
stats,
leaving them open all the time.
They shoot, I think Caruso shoots 32% and Dort shoots 31. So they can, but they don't shoot effectively. And I think what I'm saying is like when you are going against, I guess my point is when you're going against a team that has won 72 games to this point, you got to start to chip away at their flaws. Where, like I said, where they start pointing fingers at each other because they haven't done that. They haven't been battle tested this season,
right?
And they haven't won a championship. So, like last season, Dallas undid their weakness. The Nuggets have to find their weakness, exploit it, and I think once more, I have a good feeling. I just have a good feeling about it.
Yeah, I'm not. I think they're more than capable, and I think that. You know, OKC, what was it? Was it their first playoff series last year for the first time? And now they got some knowledge under them, but they still haven't been tested when they're in the top of dog. You know, now they're the number one team with the most wins in the NBA. Everybody wants to take you off that perch. So we'll see.
I also should say this to what we're all saying is the same thing. is that in the NBA is one of those rare, I guess you can do it in the NFL, but it's not the same. NBA, there's just stripes you have to get, right? So like even with the Nuggets, we went in 2019, we made it past the Spurs, lost to the Portland in a tough 2019 game 7. Then in 2020, through the bubble, when everybody thought, it was moments where like, oh, we're gonna lose first round.
Yep.
We battled, get over 3-1 against Utah. We battled to get over that, right? Over Clippers, and then we go to like 6 with the Lakers, right? So we are really moving up the ranks. All the way down to then you have Jamal get hurt, and then that year we finally break all the way through in the playoffs.
Correct.
Boston did the exact same thing. Like they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, they lost to Golden State in the championship. They earned those moments,
they have
right?
Stripes. You call them stripes.
OKC it would be skipping a step
stars.
for them to go from where they're at now to winning a championship. There's steps in there that they've never made it to Western Conference Finals.
However,
they've never made it to a champion.
But also, they went out and had a good off season. They shored up the pieces, and they got Caruso's got a championship DNA, and they got a winner in Hartenstein. So I just want to throw that back at you.
No, I get you, but it's the same thing that you're saying. It's like all that's nice, but you have to earn them stripes. And if Alex Caruso, I guess you could say the same thing for the Nuggets when we won. I guess KCP was, but I guess KCP was our one dog that had won the championship.
Yeah, he was.
And Caruso, but I just think I'm not necessarily if Caruso's the only guy that's won a championship and he's gonna build a DNA into y'all to break those huddles, I'd be surprised. Now you can make an argument that SGA, but here's the other things. Like by the time Jokic won 2, he had already won 2 MVPs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like SGA would just be winning his first one now. So there's just levels to these things that you have to go through. And I think with the Thunder, here, Chris, I guess to your point, if the Nuggets lose this series, everybody expected us to lose too. You know what I mean? It's not like if the Nuggets lose, it's not like we're gonna be front page news and say, I can't believe the Nuggets. It's not like we're the Avs. It's not like it's like, it's like I can't believe they lost this series and we thought they were gonna win. No one bet with us. It's like it's literally the same thing with Anthony Edwards. Like no one is gonna bet for the Nuggets this series. So what we're relying on is what we know we're relying on. Right. The fat boy. You know what I mean? Like when it comes down to it, we don't bet against the fat boy. Like that's just rule number 1 of Nuggets fandom.
Yep.
So like even if you think we're gonna lose, you still are watching the game because you're like, there's 10 minutes left and Jokic is on this court and Jamal's still on this court and all these guys that have built this culture of championship winning. It's the same guys, and you expect because those are the same players on the court. You expect them to win.
We do, and so I always say we have a hawk. We do. You said we always tease about don't bet on the fat boy. Joker said that, and then he also said we awaken the beast. So we got a lot of stuff that we feel good about going in with OKC. Their lack of playoff real experience and grit and have to come back from down and all around and in the playoffs. And here's the other thing: will Shea be getting the fouls that he got in the regular season?
That's
let's say less, but about the same.
Do you think?
Let's say less, but he's still gonna get.
Not the way I've been seeing these refs call the first series.
Brunson gets every call still. He still gets.
He gets a lot. Yeah, he gets a lot.
Here's the one thing I will say: the Nuggets will lose this series if this was a glaring weakness and it didn't fully bite them against the Clippers, but like they can't let the lead slip away. Like in game 5, what was that? You're up 20 going into the third. You can't let those big leads dwindle. Because you don't have the home court advantage in this series. And much like the playing in LA in the new Intuit Dome, like that place is gonna be rocking. They have never won a championship. They have one of the best fan bases. They've had it for years, going back to the KD, Harden, Russ days. They're going to revamp it. That place is going to be, they're going to have the blue and the white shirts. They're going to be very loud. They have a great team with high expectations. They have championship expectations. As if you look at it from a Thunder perspective, we would be saying, in order for us to be the champions, we got to beat a team that's been a champion. And this is our test to be that, and that should be their resolve. And I think this is a tough matchup for the Denver Nuggets. Because if you ask me,
let's go detail.
No. Let me say one more. Let me finish the point. Like if you asked me 3 weeks ago, I would say the Thunder probably beat them. If you asked me 3 months ago, I said the Thunder probably beat them. But the thing about it is, I think that this Nuggets team, if we're gonna keep doing Marvel references, they said, show them who you are. And the Nuggets said, we're the ones that have the championship. We're the ones that have multiple Hall of Famers. We're the ones that like you said, Dot, they have nothing to lose. And when you have a big dog with nothing to lose, that's a scary point for anybody to be in, because what's going to happen is around game 5, game 6, one of the teams is going to realize that, oh, dang, if we lose, all this season would have been for naught.
Yeah, let's get into
the other team, the Nuggets,
yeah.
They'll get to that spot and they'll say, hey, we've come this far.
Let's get into the details, right? Because who, player by player, where's these advantages going? Their starting lineup, as I can look at right now, you have SGA, Dort, then you have what's it in? Chet, Harkenstein, and Jalen Williams. Where are their advantages at on that starting lineup where you're like they're gonna just be better than us? SGA for sure, but where after that are you seeing like okay, there's got
You want to
better?
start? Who brings it? Who's their point? We'll go point by because we know our starting.
Well, I say SGA is their guard. He's their point guard.
Okay, so then he gets it over Jamal in certain instances.
Yeah.
As a routine player, yes,
but we're gonna send
Jamal
CB,
is a dog.
We're gonna send CB to guard SGA,
Yeah.
and then we'll probably have Russ guard him at times, and shoot, Aaron Gordon probably will be.
And P. Watt too could be.
What they're gonna do is try to switch Jokic into pick and roll opportunities for SGA essentially, and the SGA is gonna try to cook Jokic. But I'm just saying, detail for player, when you start looking at that, it's like Jamal when he goes off is gonna be able to pace or better with Jalen Williams. They cancel each other out. SGA obviously is gonna get his buckets. Chet is gonna get his buckets, but maybe AG is scoring about as much as Chet. So then the advantages come down to Christian Brown and once again Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
Because again, Michael Porter Jr. is the only person on this roster I see that don't have anybody that's going to be really guarding him. I mean, if you put Chet on Michael Porter Jr., then AG is going to be eating up boards and everything.
Yeah.
So Michael Porter Jr. is going to have a great opportunity to be a scorer in this series again.
What do you think, Christoph?
I mean, I personally think this is a Nikola Jokic series.
Oh yeah,
to be completely frank with you, because last season wasn't. Last one wasn't.
Last one obviously was not.
And I've heard people talk about how like, oh, he took a step back. Dude still averaged a 24-point triple-double. Like we've reached this point with Nikola.
He had a 36. Let's see which one. I got it here.
For the season.
No, he's got 8. He had a soundboard kind of.
For the season, he averaged a 30-point triple-double.
Yes, he
did.
And
then he regressed to 20, averaging 23-point triple-double. So my thing is this, and the Thunder could very well prove me wrong, but I've noticed it season after season after season with the Nuggets. If you don't have 3 bigs, one to make him work on defense, one to just foul and hack him, and one to play defense against him, you will not beat Nikola. And they only have 2.
Well,
and very well they could have someone who I don't know about by game 4. I know his name, I know his background, and I don't like him. But it's been the secret sauce since Enes Kanter, Zach Collins, and I forget who their starting center was. Was it LaMarcus Aldridge in 2019?
Yeah.
It was Dwight Howard, it was JaVale McGee, it was Anthony Davis. Last season was Naz Reid, Gobert, and Cat. If you have those 3 things, and I'm sorry I'm putting this on wax for NBA coaches to hear, if you have those 3, you will beat the Nuggets. And if you don't have it, it's going to be a little bit tougher. So I think it's a Nikola Jokic series, and I would love for him to go. That you've seen that stat was when he scores 40. What's it? When he scores 40 points, his team they haven't won. Hopefully they right that ship, and he has 2 40-point games. Jamal has a 40-point game, and their 4th one is a team effort game.
No, I agree with you on that. I think, yeah, as long as we do that, I think at the beginning of the day, it's all about strategy, and you just know that these first two games, we got still one. You got still one. Either you went tonight, maybe they're a little rusty and they come out a little slow, you steal that one,
We might catch
or
him.
or in game two, you're
I
gonna get one
I
of them.
was gonna I was gonna I was been honestly been thinking about this for the last 3 hours, and it sounds weird to say that because I have got paid no money to think about this. However, I have been thinking about it. Do you want to win game one? Because I think any game you win in a 7 game series or just a series, you have to win it, right? But I think you could catch them sleeping. You take game one, and now you have their undivided attention, right? Which kind of gets them off. Or do they kick your butt tonight? They start to say, okay, we got this, we got the matchups, we knew we could beat them, we're the better team. And the Nuggets sneak game two and puts them back on the ropes where now they have to say, we got to come into Denver and take one, and then you go back 2-2. And then from there on out, it's best 2 out of 3 at that point. Is that what you want? Or is it like, do you want game one and then
I,
you happy, or
I
you
think
try
that
to go
they've
still
been
game two at that point?
Yeah, I think that they've been down a week, and they're, I don't know if you call it rust or whatever, just back haven't playing ball. They've been practicing, of course, but I just think you might could sneak in and take game one. And if you take game one, I'm not saying to rest on game two, but now you've got home court, generally back. I'm not that, I'm worried about home court necessarily. I'm just worried about the Nuggets being their best self and playing their best ball. But I hear your strategy. I would go for it. Because you never know. You never know who, is going to feel well or not. Or, like MPJ got, hurt halfway through that series, and he had to, you know, just dig it out. And he did. And I jokingly called him the one-armed bandit because he was hitting some shots, feeling the way he does with that sore arm. So you never know what happened. So just win what you can when you can.
Yeah, I think this time, this is probably the first season in 3 years where I'm just watching the, well, shoot, probably since the Nuggets kind of started being good.
Yeah.
This is the first season in a while where I can watch the game and just like, I'm not trying to like, I'm like, oh, come on, do this, do that, hope the Nuggets win, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, I'm gonna watch how they play,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna see how they analyze this and
Right.
what they can do. There's
I
not an
agree.
expectation of like, this has got to be the win. I just expect them to win in the long run. I expect the Nuggets to win throughout the 7 game series. If we win in 6, good. If we lose in 7, I mean, if we win in 7, rather, good. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole thing about it versus like other season. I was like, the fear of like, can we win this championship? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Now we have that, as we've been kind of alluding to this series. And again, as we've already alluded to, we're not expected to win.
Right.
Therefore, what we're about to do is just going to surprise the world. You know what I mean? Because I
Right.
think outside of people that are really like Nuggets fans and have
Yeah.
watched all the games throughout the season and really break this down, probably don't believe the Nuggets will win.
No.
Because you
Yep.
have a team, and this always happens. You have a team that's won 70,
68.
73
I think
games,
yeah, well, I mean, what
and they get up 3-1, and you expect them to win a series. Like, you know what I mean? The team with the best record in the MVP is supposed to win. So we believe we have the MVP.
Yeah.
We actually don't believe it. We know we have the MVP.
Yes, we do.
And I think at a certain point, Jokic has to think a little bit to himself, like, hey, they gave this dude the MVP without me, no matter what I did. And it always was about my stats until this year. It has not been about stats. He has to have that in the back of his mind.
Yeah.
Russ has to have it in the back of his mind. Yes, although I love OKC, they're in the way of me winning my first ever championship.
Right.
Now, I mean, I get this city has done a lot for me in my career, but at the end of the day, I want to beat these guys.
Yeah.
And he said it in his presser. Like, he basically said, they know the reason they love me is because of how hard I play.
Right.
And I'm going to bring that same intensity to the court. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you have all that. Then you have Michael Porter, who's going through these games with a hurt shoulder. Something has to kick in for him. He's like, yo, if I'm putting in all this work and all this injuries and all this,
suffering through it, I'm going to get
AG, you already know about the passing of his brother and all those things. All these things,
right.
You get to use
Well,
in a
don't
60-minute
forget
basketball game.
Jamal's countrymen. They're both from Canada.
And
they played together.
And that's Jamal's countrymen.
Yeah, come on.
No, the Nuggets has so much stuff going for
Yeah.
them. And I was just thinking about it to the point, like, when Embiid got that trophy, right? He was on the East.
Yeah.
Like, there might come a night where they give Shea the
Oh, it
trophy
will.
in
They do
front of
give it to you in
Jokic.
In
this.
front of Jokic.
They're
They
gonna
do give
give
it to
they're
you.
gonna give they're gonna give him the MVP in front of Jokic. And that's why I said I think this is a Jokic series, because I think you guys, that was beautifully put, what you just said about each one of those players having a little bit of something to go after. But that's why I'm just going back to my point. And I know it's, oh, you chose the best player on the earth. But I do think that this is the one where you're like, this is the I don't want to cuss. We've never cussed on the pod, so I won't. But this is the F 'em all series for
Yeah.
Joke. You're about to give this dude
Yeah.
the MVP over me? Bet.
And Joker has said at one of the pressers that this is his best season in his mind. He's like, this is the best I have
And you know what it
ever
is?
played.
We did this last season, so I'm not going to go too much into the parallels of it. But in 1995, David Robinson goes up against Akeem Olajuwon, and they always say when you watch those documentaries, Kenny Jet Smith and Otis Thorpe and all them say, like, he watched David Robinson get that trophy that one night in San Antonio, and
He
said
said, get behind me.
he said he's got my trophy.
Yep.
And then, like you said, get behind me. So I just think
You hope
this
that comes to fore with Joker.
so now like, hopefully if Shea gets it, I hope it's during this series, because that's
it's
gonna
be. It usually is during the second round. So here we are.
Part of me does want to see Jokic get that MVP handed to him, not get that MVP handed to him right in front of him. You know, I want him to kind of have that little sting right there, and before he drops 50 on him that game. I really do want that, and I mean 50 in a win too, because you know a lot of times when Jokic gets 50,
no, that's not. I said that.
I'm talking about
point.
50, like a 50-point triple double type of thing, like he did like he's done before.
I'll say this one time, I speak into existence, and I'll let you back to the host, Kyle. I think I want this to be a run of revenge. It's a revenge. Revenge was Russ's. Revenge will be Nikola's, and then it's a team revenge against Minnesota.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a Jamal Murray coming out party, showing the world that I never got the All-Star do in season anything, but I show up in these playoffs.
No, you're right. Jamal's best angle is the fact like he's going against his countrymen.
Yeah.
A lot of people was trying to call him trash from the Team Canada. I'm sure there's people in Canada that was hating on Jamal.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So
yeah,
and the Nuggets are playing.
What better way to cook them than beat the best player in the world? What if? Because look here's the thing. SGA is amazing.
Yeah,
I'm not hating on SGA when I'm about to say. But I've seen Jamal at his greatness, and I was still like, if they're both on the court, Jamal's going in and SGA's going in, Jamal is going to get bucket for bucket with him. Period. That is just Jamal's MO.
We need to dress up SGA in a Donovan Mitchell outfit.
I was going to say
he could go up with Jamal.
I was going to say this. You know, we did our teams. I had Jamal, right?
Right.
Over 82 games, probably give me SGA. I'm not stopping. But over 7, give me Jamal.
Yeah.
Jamal.
When Jamal's locked in and playing basketball, there's very few people in the world that can match his scoring.
Give me, like I said, if it's a high leverage, high intensity 7 games, give me Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's about it on this. Let's go to the not Nuggets.
You guys don't want to do it. You guys don't want to do a prediction on this series?
Oh yeah, I thought. Okay, my bad. In my mind, I thought I predicted it already.
Yeah, we already said it.
But we can go around.
No, we just Nuggets. So
I said Nuggets in 7. I said
Nuggets in 7. Why say 7? Or what are your thoughts on 7?
Because I think that they are good, and it may take us a minute to, just like the Clippers. I thought it was going to be the Nuggets in 6, so I was like, okay. Chris said Nuggets in 7, he won. So you're saying Nuggets in 6, so I'll say Nuggets in 7, and we both win again. Let's hope it's that way.
I'll let you go last. I'm saying Nuggets in 6 because Nuggets going at home. Obviously, they've lost home game 7s, so my point could be mute here. But like going on the road to that environment might be very tough to do. So I think the Nuggets win in 6.
This is the first time Jamal Murray and Jokic have been on the same team as the underdogs in a series.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Because every other time Jokic was by himself because Jamal was out.
Yeah.
So, and I think at the beginning of this podcast year, when we were talking about the biggest threats to the Nuggets, we said the Thunder.
Yeah.
And the Thunder have not only been the biggest threats to the Nuggets, they've been the biggest threats to the NBA. and you know that people are betting against the Nuggets. So there's all of these things. And then
They're
you, as you say,
10.5 dogs tonight.
10 and a half dogs, and you say Thunder got the best 10 plus players on a team. So there's a lot of things going for the Thunder. And even still,
We got a haul.
Nuggets in 7. Because again, I refuse to bet against Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
I might go down swinging, but I'm believing in Jokic, and I'm believing in Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
That's the Blue Mamba. I'm believing in
MPJ.
I'm
AG,
believing in the fact
CD,
that we understand
G-Watt, and Russ.
that too. But I'm saying I'm believing in the fact that we know our roles. I'll take our 7, 8 guys that come in at and they just know what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Versus them having to short. If they had to, like I said, my key to this series is can we make them shorten their bench?
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I'm so sorry. I know we've got to move on to the next segment, but it just makes me laugh because you said it, Dot, and it's such a little younger brother point, but it's so true. You're supposed to beat us. You know what I mean? Like y'all supposed to beat us. Like you guys beat us. Like we lost our head coach. Whoop-de-doo, you beat us. Like, oh, congrats, you beat us.
We gonna
But
sound
guess
like
what?
Ant. That's how Ant was that last series. We
But
like, y'all, nobody believed in us.
But guess what?
Oh, we definitely would if we did.
We got Nikola, and I will never bet against a fat boy.
No,
And I truly do think, like, I do think there's something special about this team. I could be very wrong. I could think that the special could lie in Oklahoma City. They deserve it, but deserve doesn't mean nothing in sports. You got to earn it.
Chris, the fat boy gave Katie and D, or that wasn't it was just Book. It was Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Ayton. But he gave them 40 people points with Capazzo.
Yeah, I'm saying.
So if he can do that against them, he can do something against these guys.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about our run when he went down. We went down, and that was the only team. We had 14. Games.
You're talking about a guy that won a series, and he won that series with Austin Rivers was his best shooter. Like this is the moments we're talking about for Jokic. Like he's built for these moments. So I think everything's going in the right way. I just think the Nuggets gotta play 48 minutes every night. That's just period. And sometimes more. Sometimes more. Anyways, let's go to not Nuggets. Kind of keep it rapid fire from all the way out in Boston. We have Boston and the New York Knicks. What is your predictions for that series? What do you think? Boston and what?
Boston and 6.
Yeah, 6. Boston and 6.
Boston and 5.
All right. Knicks.
You think they got? Yeah. You think Knicks
already
got a 1-1?
You had a good season. Knicks have gotten the same.
I think the Knicks struggle with the Pistons, and the Pistons ain't Boston.
Yeah, they ain't Boston.
I think Knicks.
And there's Holiday's back.
Knicks have nothing to lose, but also they just don't have the Boston Celtics roster, so I think they're in trouble.
What about Indy and Cleveland yesterday?
I actually, it's funny. Cavs. Even before Pacers won, if we would have had this podcast before that, I still would have said Pacers.
Oh, you would have said Pacers? Okay.
The reason why is because I think the Pacers are playing such high-level offensive basketball. Their defense is never going to be good. The defense is never going to be really what it needs to. But I don't think it's a jug that they've done this now 2 seasons in a row. They can literally just outrun teams, outscore teams, and just get going. Where I think Cleveland's issue is that, yes, they're a great defensive team, spectacular defense team. And if Donovan doesn't kill you over the head, Evan Mobley is not always going to have great games, and Jared Allen's not always going to have great games. So now you're really relying on Donovan scoring, and if Garland's out,
and he didn't.
I got Pacers and 6.
Pacers and 6. What about you, Christoph?
Maybe Pistons. Maybe I should say Pacers and 7. Somewhere in there.
This one's tough for me. To be honest with you, I like everything you just said, and I want to believe in the Cavaliers. I really do.
They have some of the same things that we talked about with OKC. They haven't been there together like this. Now, Donovan's been to a lot of playoffs, but not the whole team. They're young still. They got some.
I think I can't say everything I just said about the OKC. And it doesn't apply to Cavaliers about skipping steps and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think the Pacers are on a higher trajectory.
Sure.
Haven't gone to Eastern Conference Finals again.
Yep.
And I think when you look back, if the Just Pacers podcast is talking about this, they're saying our biggest adversary is the Boston Celtics. Can we get over them?
Yeah.
And they're not looking at Cleveland, and I think they're in their division, so they've played them the most this season. I think the pick.
Pacers
I'll say
win.
Pacers in 6.
But here's the thing, I'm not hating on the Cavs. Like I don't want to say like, oh, the Cavs aren't as good as the Pacers because Cavs easily could win this series. I think the Pacers are playing such great basketball that I think it's gonna make it hard for Cavs. If this game was played a month or two ago, you might have a different result. But I think I think Pacers are playing legit playoff. I think they could really have a chance to send Boston a lot of worries too. Like, it's not just Cleveland.
Hmm. Well, we all picked it. We all picked Indy, so that's what we're gonna go with. I didn't give a 5 or 6, but maybe 6. Maybe they'll win.
All right, let's go to the Wolves and
Go
Golden
State.
who just won a tough game 7 themselves.
And they said that they have some record about a 7 seed getting this high long time.
It's the first 7. It's a 6-7 matchup.
Yeah, 6-7. I said, but they ain't your normal. They ain't
It's
your
the first
grandma
ever 6-7. It's the first
I don't
ever.
think it's the first ever, but it is a 6-7 matchup. And it's funny because think about it.
They are not a 6 or 7 team.
You're Minnesota, and like a couple weeks ago, like you were like trying to fend off the play-in. Now second round, you got home court advantage. That's kind of crazy.
That is crazy. But they said if you wound up on that side of the bracket, you would,
These are the best 4 teams in the West. We believed it. The Lakers made a big splash.
Yeah.
And it takes time to gel with the rookie head coach. They had the horses to do it, but they just didn't have the center. That was their glaring issue the whole entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota took advantage of that. Obviously, this is what Minnesota does. They can come alive and they'll beat up on you. And I think they still the same issue that the Nuggets, that the Lakers had versus Minnesota is the same issue that
the Warriors have.
The Warriors are gonna have. They don't have a big.
They don't.
Looney has always been what Looney is. He's a big body and he can come in there and get boards, but he's never really been a fantastic center. He's got 4 rings, so I'll put respect on him. Yeah. And they have a Draymond. And the one thing about Draymond is he'll punch Rudy Gobert in the face. Like, the Lakers didn't have anybody to punch the Frenchman in the face. We know that Draymond will choke him out. So
step on him too.
But they have 2. Minnesota has Gobert and Randall. So
that X factor in that series, Naz Reid. Naz Reid has a good series. Naz Reid has a good series.
Yeah,
it's going Minnesota's way.
Yeah.
If Jimmy Butler has a Jimmy Butler type series, it goes to the Warriors.
Really?
But I already kind of told you what I want. I want the Nuggets to win, and I want the Wolves to win because I want
revenge.
My revenge. I want revenge.
Who'd you say?
I say Minnesota. I say in 6.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I say Minnesota in 7. They win at home.
That's you tough. Think the Warriors are going to get them all the way to the 7th game?
Q, because Steph Curry. Q, the Pat Beverly meme. That's what it is.
Is not.
No, he's been playing through it.
Yeah, he's
Did you not see that, man?
He had 14 points last night.
That 10-0 run they had to end out that game was incredible.
I would say this one's actually really tough for me because I think the Wolves are eventually going to win this series. I don't know how many games. I think it's going to be 7. And goodness gracious, I just think the Wolves are going to win in 7. But I think it's going to be a tough series for them. I could easily see Warriors winning.
I could see Warriors winning, but I think it's going to be Minnesota in 6.
Yeah, I'll take Warriors. I'll take Wolves
because they don't have any bigs.
I'll take Wolves in 7. It'll be interesting to see what they can do against Curry. I don't know maybe you send what's the name on Curry at this point. What's that guy's name that be locking people? Jaden McDaniels. You might have put him.
Jaden of course. That's what they're gonna do. That's what they're gonna do.
But then Jimmy's gonna be able to eat unless you're you're gonna put Anthony Edwards on it, Jimmy. So I guess there's things you can do to. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I got Wolves in 7.
Mm-hmm.
And that's tough. But it kind of goes into what we're talking about. Don't bet against the champions. Like the Warriors can always find a way to beat teams.
They have 2 times. I don't know if they could do it 3. I don't know if they could do it. When I say 2 times, they had to get to play in to get to it. That was their one little series they had to deal with, and now they, this is their 3rd trying to keep up with everyone else. So
as James Brown once said. Revenge.
And we said this. I guess everybody kind of said this, but the West was always going to look like this.
Yeah.
We just had teams that weren't in the right position might make it to the finals. Like it's just kind of Nuggets the way we're playing. If Nuggets beat the 1 seed, we're a 4 seed. Like it's gonna be it's all over in the West.
Right.
Anyways, let's go to
Nuggets playing with house money.
Yep. 2 minutes.
2 minutes remaining.
2 minutes remaining.
2 minutes remaining.
Man, game 7s. They're always interesting.
They are interesting.
We've had our shares of wins and we have our shares of losses.
We tonight.
In Colorado, even on Saturday, we had both a win and a loss. 7s will always be
our Avs.
A toss-up series, toss-up game. Yeah. And you see what happens in those moments. Even like with the Clippers. The Clippers, the ball wasn't going in their way early, and it was just you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Once you start sliding in a 7, it's hard to get up in a 7.
Yeah,
I say all that to say, we can go Nuggets specifically, but if you can't think of a Nuggets memory and what has been your just favorite game 7, maybe throughout history or Nuggets history specifically, you can kind of play with.
Other than the one we just saw.
I mean, other one last night. I mean, on Saturday was one on Saturday.
That was pretty. That's right up there.
I was worried. Not like I wasn't worried in the sense the Nuggets weren't going to be great. I was worried because it's game 7.
Yeah,
it's harder to predict what happens in a game 7.
It was 50-50 because if we had the Kawhi we had in game 2 or Harden decided to show up in a game 7 for
last year's game 7 messed me up. Like,
different.
It makes me be like, I don't know what I know about games.
Well, because you were literally in the building.
Yeah, everything I know about game 7s and Nuggets momentum went out the window.
But they were tired.
I thought it was during the.
You guys forced me to say
it was halftime. I thought we were killing them.
Tired.
Oh yeah, they were tired, but just like watching the game, it didn't feel like they were tired. To the third quarter, they're like, oh, they're exhausted.
Yeah, they're exhausted. They're not tired. They're exhausted.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is different than tired.
They don't have anymore.
They got walked very quickly.
I thought you had a good point. Like game 7's like it's such a high intensity, high pressure moment that when the momentum starts to turn on you, it's hard to grab it back. And I think. Obviously, last year that occurred, and it happened It happened with the Clippers a little bit when they hit that 15-0 run.
Yeah,
it was a wrap. And then you have our boy, one of my favorite Nuggets moments of all time now, him getting that technical and telling him to take the ASSS home.
Yeah, right.
I love that. That was 3 S's too. Should have put one more because that was 4. Get out. And then I would just say an honorable mention for me. One of my favorite game 7 moment, especially Nuggets history, was Paul George shooting the corner 3 and hitting off the top of the backboard because that was a death spiral.
Yeah.
And that was one of my favorite moments. But my favorite moment, I've heard people talk about favorite Nuggets moments, game 7 moments. My favorite one will forever be the Nikola Jokic little spin hook on Rudy Gobert in the bubble.
Yeah.
Like the win the game's 80-78 after what a series that was so crazy. And then Torrey Craig almost ruining it.
Torrey Craig did worse than Russ, bro. That was way worse than anything Russ did.
Torrey Craig almost ruined it all. And then
he went he went off 2 feet for a layup.
What is it? And then who else ruined it for us?
No, then Mike Conley shot that shot and like my breath was just gone because it looked good the whole time. And it was just a little bit short. And that's how that whole series was. It was we
were just behind a little bit.
But when Jokic hit Gobert with those shoulder moves, and then that little hook shot right over his outstretched arm, like that was so beautiful. Oh my God, that was beautiful. That's my favorite game 7 of all time because that might be one of my. I mean, outside of the 5-game destroying of the Heat. Like in the NBA Finals, I think that was, or the sweep of the Lakers. Those are probably my 2 favorite Nuggets series, but that one I'll slot in at number 3.
Yeah. Dot, do you have one?
I mean, Chris said like 4.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if he was aware of that. He took the Clippers one, took the Utah one. He talked about other ones. So I would say, I guess I have to go with this one. Because I mean, I'm left with choice at this point.
Come with the one. Come on.
Because the reason why is because. You gotta remember this series had so much in it. If we can just go back and think about this series, we had Russ hitting the biggest 3 of his dang Nuggets career.
Yes.
That was game 1.
Yeah.
Game 2, we're up, then we find a way to lose. Game 3 doesn't matter. Game 4, we have the fight, which is literally the epitome of the Paul Millsap.
Yeah,
but it honestly was the same. It was just as pivotal because the Nuggets were probably gonna lose that series if we don't get in that fight.
Yeah.
That's how close. That's how just like in the Paul Millsap.
It happened, yeah. And it was the hair of our chinny chin.
You get the Christian Brown flex, like you get like I ain't scared of you, James Harden moment.
Yeah.
And then of course you get the most memorable Nuggets finish darn near ever. The AG slam. And it was so good that literally if we went to overtime, we probably were gonna lose that game.
Yeah.
The only outcome we had in winning that game was that outcome. That was it's our fourth Marvels thing, but when it's the Doctor Strange with the finger up. Like it was the one opportunity of us winning.
Yeah.
So
not yet.
Again, and then obviously just Russell Westbrook having one of the best series I've had. I've seen him in a while. Like that was just great. And then we got a Jamal Murray flurry. And then we got a beat down in Game 7. I just don't know. I'll just take that because it matters.
We had a Game 4. First, it was a Game 4. Nikola, 36 points, 21 rebounds, and 8 assists. That game started it, and then Jamal was like, "Well, I'll get me some at some point here next." You know, that was a great series.
And we ended with a team win, and we won with a team win.
Yeah, and we won it. So
before we end, I thought you said something real, Kyle. That who gets in a fight this series?
Someone's gonna be fighting.
Let's see let's say who's gonna fight.
Who is your prediction? Who's your prediction?
Who's there like big ruffy guy over there, like a Draymond? I mean, nobody's Draymond, but
they got fake tough guys, and that's kind of why I don't like them. I'm sorry.
I'm sure Dort is going to be
Dort. Yeah. I think Dort's going to be in the middle of it. I'm sure we're going to not like Joe at the end of this. They got some annoying face people on the bench. Caruso's a little pest.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
we didn't get into it with him against LA. He might be all right. But
I think CB versus Caruso.
Oh, good. CB's winning.
It'll be interesting to see who falls from grace in my eyes.
Yeah.
This series.
Well, Dunn did it early for me.
No, that's how I was. That's how I was. Norman, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna take me a long time before I can like Norman Powell again. And I used to be a big fan of Norman Powell. That was a tough fall from grace.
But I was like, I'm not fond of him.
We only have about 45 minutes before we figure out who.
We're gonna next time.
I'm leaning towards SGA because that man be flopping.
Yeah, right. So, if he starts flopping, I'm gonna.
He has a chance.
I already know who it is for me, and you guys already know who it is. It's not even a fall from grace. I already don't like dude.
Oh, Chet. I already don't like Chet either.
I'm not saying it. You guys said it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I already don't like dude. I liked him when he came into the league, and then his first game versus Jokic, and he was talking all that junk and was fouling. Come on, bro, get out of here.
Yeah,
I know. I just
want to end their season. I'm sorry, I just want to end their season. They've won so many games. They've won so many games. Yeah. They've made it look so easy. They're so young. Yeah. They're so charismatic, and they have the world ahead of them. They got all the picks in the world. Let's just. You know what I mean? It's like the Fight Club. I know you don't get the reference, Mom, but like it's like Fight Club when he's like, I just wanted to see beauty end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're so beautiful. Like you guys have struggled nothing. You guys have gotten everything. You guys have all the picks in the world. You have the MVP. You won 70 games. Let's punch them in the mouth. Yeah. Let's win this in 6. Nuggets.
I'm sure we're all we're one post game interview from not liking the whole team.
Yes, true.
That's just from the Nuggets podcast.
Yeah.
And from your favorite podcast point guard, my name is K. Colley. You can find us on Twitter, on X, and from the Just Nuggets podcast. Thank you, JJ's, for another great episode.
Yep.
Christoph Yalich, thank you for your shooting from across the world. Thank you again for another great episode. And from our podcast.
Go Nuggets.
Go Nuggets.
Go Nuggets.